Okay, well, today I'm gonna start decorating my vase. So I kind of like have made an outline here. Remember, you could use the needle tool and then the ruler to mark a line, and then I'm gonna also use the line of my neck to do something similar to the image that you see here. So I'm gonna just be using mostly orange and black, pretty much on my whole decoration. So I'm gonna paint pretty much this whole area orange. Hopefully I have enough with my underglazes. I did mix in a little bit of red into the orange to sort of intensify it a little bit more, because I think the orange alone seem a little too yellowish. But yeah, I'm gonna pretty much be making something similar like that, and I'm just gonna go over it with orange color. um, and then yeah, like I said, hopefully I have enough. This I've just let it dry for about a day. It's still leather hard. If I needed to work on it more, I'm probably gonna have to do multiple coats of this. And yeah, I might not have enough, so I might have to get more underglaze. I think my suggestion would be to see if you could get more, order some more. Sometimes you could just buy that one color that you need on its own, and they sell it for like a little 8-ounce container. So yeah, just gonna again do something like that. So I'm just gonna get this out of the way, and I'm just gonna be yeah, underglazing the whole thing. So eventually I'm gonna be painting black figures on the orange, and I'm gonna be using stencils to do those. Yeah, like I said, I don't know if this is gonna be enough. Well, it'll be one coat, and then I'm gonna have to let it dry and then get more to do a second and third coat. But I'll do the orange for now, and then I'll just move on with the black. I do have a little bit more of the black. But yeah, anyways, I'm just gonna be painting slowly, and then you'll see this pretty much all finished up, just more paint. So you'll see that in a bit. All right, so here I have one coat of underglaze so far. So I am gonna let this dry, for a couple hours before I do a second coat. Um, and yeah, check, do your first coat. Hopefully you have enough underglaze. If not, you might need to get some more. This is one coat of underglaze of that orange color. So the other thing with it is that you might even leave it. It might make it look more antiquated, but I think it'll definitely show when it gets fired. If it's really thin coat, the color might not actually show. It might just fade out. So I am gonna give it multiple coats, that way I could get a pretty nice orange color. And then the black, same thing, I'm gonna give it like 2 to 3 coats, that way I get a nice coverage. So I'll let this dry, and then I'll give it the second and third coats. All right, so I have covered my pot with underglaze. I've done a few coats of black, and then also of the orange. So I think this is, you know, gotten full coverage. Next thing I'm gonna do now is do decorations, like more like figures. So like just like the, the Greek pots. I'm gonna do black figure pottery. So here I have gotten my image, and I've printed it out. So here it is printed, and a couple ways to go about it as far as putting this image onto this. You could either freehand it and just paint like the figure, as carefully as possible. Don't worry about it being perfect. It could just be stylized and simplistic. Or what I'm gonna do here, I'm actually gonna I'm gonna cut these out to create a template, that I would then put on here, and then pretty much use as a stencil to transfer the image. So I'm gonna be cutting out the figures out of this, and then I'll put the piece of paper onto the pot, and then I'll be able to use it as a stencil to transfer the image. So I'm gonna be using an X-Acto knife and cut out the figures very carefully right against the the edge of these, and then next time I'll have this all cut out, and then I'll be able to transfer it over. So I'll see you guys in a bit. Alright, so here I have cut out my stencil. So I cut out the figures out of of this, and I still have these just in case. So a couple ways to go about it, to do the decoration. You can either use the positive ones or the negative ones. If you want, you could take like this guy just to kind of place it, see what it's going to look like. Put it on there, like dab it on with this wet sponge, maybe wet the little paper a little bit, and then you could trace the outline of this, trace the outline of the figure. Once it's traced, then you could just fill it in with the underglaze, or like if you cut this out correctly, you could again use it as a stencil. So that's what I'm gonna be doing. I'm gonna use it as a stencil. I'm gonna be placing it on here so that I could do that a little bit faster. Let me go grab another sponge. Yeah, so I'm gonna show you how I'm gonna do that. So I'm just kind of putting this, kind of just preparing it. Look at my placement. So what I'm gonna do, I need to moisten the piece of paper here, my stencil, so that it wraps around the the pot. So I'm gonna grab a spray bottle and spray it. Same thing with the pot. I'm gonna spray it. I'm not gonna soak it, just spray it lightly and just start putting this on. It's gonna be a little tricky. Just kind of like there might be some folds, so I'm gonna just kind of start from the center. Work my way out. Same thing as I'll just be arranging these. The idea is to put this on right against the pot so there are no lifted areas. That way when you start using the underglaze, it doesn't penetrate those lifted areas. So it's just like slowly dabbing it. I might have to like cut some areas out, or not out, just make some cuts so that I'm able to accommodate this a little bit better. Just take your time if you're doing this method. You could also do like maybe each figure separately. That way you don't have to deal with one large sheet of paper. It's kind of hard to wrap around the pot. Again, I want to make sure there are just no lifted areas. So that's looking pretty good right there. I think I'm happy with that. Just press down on it with the moistened sponge. Okay, so I think that looks good to me. So now I'm gonna go ahead and use the black underglaze to paint over the stencil. I want to do this sort of like with a quick, swift motion, because I don't want to spend too much time on the paper. So I'm gonna make sure it doesn't soak through. Okay. Okay, that looks like a nice coverage. Now I could either wait for this to dry on its own, or I could just use the hair dryer to speed up the process, which is what I'm probably gonna do. I want to make sure that also when I cover it with the underglaze, if I see any orange poking through, then I'm gonna go over that area. Because if the orange shows through, it's gonna be noticeable once it gets fired. Okay, so there it is. Go grab a hair dryer so I could blow dry this. Okay, I'm gonna have a hair dryer, so I'm gonna blow dry this for a few minutes on the hot setting. Alright, so after a few minutes blow drying, I just blow dried it enough so that it doesn't look wet anymore. Once that is done, then I could go ahead and peel this off. Just peel off all those bits. Okay, so there it is. That's what it's, what transferred. So you could compare it, if you grab like your positive one, you could like sort of like put it right against it in case you need to make little adjustments. But for the most part, I think that looks pretty good. It pretty much looks just like the image I have over here. So I think that'll work. Next thing I'm gonna do is, because you notice like these have, you know, designs or lines on them, which I'm gonna be putting on here as well. So I'm gonna grab a tool and show you how to do that. Okay, so these are tools that I grabbed. You know, hopefully you have something like this. Just pretty much something that's not a needle, but kind of like a knife point. These lines, you know, they're pretty fine, but you know, they still need to be visible. So I like to use this tool right here. It's like a cleanup tool. So looking at my original, I'm just gonna like be following those lines, you know, in order to pretty much recreate the image. So let me show you with the pot here. So here's the original with this tool, which is pretty much follow the design and just carve through the clay. Pretty much like carving the black away. And as I carve, I'll try to like clean away those little bits. Do as best as possible. I'm using a dried brush to just dry away or get those little bits out of the way. Not being super careful. I mean, it shows the hand of the artist. So now this one has a lot more detail. Again, I'll just kind of hold it and follow the lines. And I'll switch, you know, between tools. Let's see if I could carve the arm. Yeah, freehanding this, so. Just carving away very gently. Just kind of putting just the weight of my hand. keeping it simple. Okay. This almost looks like a vase, so I might just leave it like the way it is. Okay, so there's that. You can see now. This technique's called graffito, which is, when you carve through the clay, the colored clay, to reveal the color underneath. Now I'm gonna do this guy. See if I could do the arm. Just a bit I'm gonna remove here. Again, just carving away the clay very gently. Okay, so I think that looks about right. Yeah, so now you can see looks about finished. Let's zoom out a bit. Okay, I can't. So that's, pretty much about it. I could spend a little bit more time just cleaning it up. But there's my figures on my pot. Don't worry about doing the back side. If you want, maybe you could get creative with the other side if you want to do your own type of imagery. One side could just be traditional black figure pottery. Maybe on the back you could do something else, totally up to you, but not required. But there's my Greek style pot or amphora with black figure pottery, and now that it's done, I'm gonna go ahead and cover it up so that I could not let it dry completely, and then eventually I'll bring it over to campus to get it fired. So that is my Greek amphora, guys. Hopefully you guys could do something just as great or better. Get creative with it, take your time, be patient, and have fun with it. All right, guys. Thanks.